Welcome back, everyone, to episode 8 of the Reburial story, part of the thrilling and captivating series by Kevin on the True Ghost Stories channel. See you again this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now reached episode 8, completing 1/3 of the fascinating and compelling story. Kevin. Ladies and gentlemen, now, without further delay, let's invite you all to dive into the content of episode 8 of this story through Dean Shadow's reading performance. A slimy mucus mass was regurgitated outward. Amid Dien's horror, Mr. Carr. And of course also from the strong captain, that milky white mucus continued to ooze out from the corpse, dead, showing no signs of stopping. But that was still not the most terrifying thing, because something even more horrifying was now emerging from the two wide open eyes. On the dead man's face, the whites of his eyes had now turned pitch black, due to something writhing and swimming back and forth inside the cornea. Man felt goosebumps rise all over his body as from within the two eye sockets of Mr. Lamb, something had just punctured through, and some creature crawled out. Not just one, but a multitude of creatures, shaped like tadpoles, were puncturing through the dead man's eyes and swimming all over his corpse, with their round jet-black heads and slender wriggling tails swaying back and forth. They crawled from Mr. Lamb's body down into the puddles of rainwater collected, then stirred up the mud to hide among the grass. Witnessing the scene of countless tadpole-like creatures crawling out from the eye sockets, nostrils, and the corpse, Mr. Carr couldn't bear it and dry-heaved, right on the spot. Mr. Carr, who had once seen a jet-black tadpole crawl out from inside the stomach of the boy, had thought that was the most horrifying and terrifying scene he would ever witness. But compared to just what was happening right before his eyes, the tadpole inside the boy's stomach seemed insignificant. Instinctively stepping back, Mr. Carr stumbled and fell face first onto the ground, his hand pointing toward the corpse, his mouth mumbling incoherently. Again, this village is cursed. Man turned to look at Mr. Carr. Mr. Carr's face was deathly pale. The air was slightly chilly as it was autumn, not to mention after the rain. The sky, earth gloomy, outside the abandoned cemetery. The mist made the cold even sharper and more chilling. Yet Mr. Carr was sweating profusely, his sweat soaking through, dripping down in beads. He must have been extremely terrified, panicked by something. Only then would a person react like that. From the mouth of the corpse, something was still oozing out, a slimy, milky white fluid, along with countless black tadpole-like creatures, larger in size than the ones that had previously spilled out lightly from the corpse, from the eyes, nose, and ears. In just a moment, Mr. Lamb's entire body was covered with tadpoles, but those tadpoles quickly increased in number, crawled swiftly down into the ditches and water channels, across the grassy field, and disappeared. Next, from Mr. Lamb's stiff, gaping mouth, in the stillness of the night, came the gentle and rhythmic sound of frogs croaking, soothing the quiet surroundings, as if the dead man himself was letting out those deep, croaking sounds. Mr. Carr turned pale and stomped his foot on the grass, trying to back away, his eyes wide open, staring at the corpse, and shouted loudly, It's him!" After Mr. Carr screamed in terror, the croaking sounds began to pour out from Mr. Lamb's corpse, growing louder, clearer, and closer. He screamed in terror as once again, in his life, he was forced to witness that horrifying scene repeat itself. From Mr. Lamb's mouth, a pitch-black frog, about the size of an adult's hand, leapt out and sat squarely on the corpse's stomach. Its eyes were blood-red, glowed blood-red. It tilted its head toward the sky, its neck swelling up before letting out several. The frog croaks loudly. The large black frog with its red eyes jumped into a nearby bush, leaving Captain Manh, Mr. Carr, and Dien stunned. Of Captain Manh, Mr. Carr, and Dien, they arrived at the time, didn't even dare to breathe. Before Manh could recover, Dien stammered, What the hell just happened, sir?" Chief Manh himself couldn't explain the bizarre phenomenon they had just witnessed. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, Manh would never have believed that such a terrifying event could exist in this world. A dead body lying beneath a mysterious grave. When the body was lifted up, it suddenly rose up. Then, from within the corpse, a swarm of tadpoles. In this person's body, a flock of The venom comes out of the eye sockets, nostrils, and ears. The number is terrifyingly large. A frog with a bizarre appearance leapt out from the dead man's mouth and disappeared along with the swarm of tadpoles. All these horrific events became more terrifying because they happened in the cemetery area, the burial ground of Phuong Bai village. The black frog with a pair of little red eyes vanished. What remained at that moment was a rotting, foul-smelling corpse along with the pile of milky white, slimy mucus. The draft was just pushed out of the body of after approximately about... Calm man lifted his feet and neared Mr. Lamb's body. He moved step by step toward the corpse. Dien stood frozen, not daring to move. As for Mr. Carr, he had truly been scared out of his wits. He was scared, his soul leaving his body. Closer they got to, stronger, the stench of decay and the smell of death became, making man feel truly nauseous. Amid the pile, slimy fluids oozed out from Mr. Lamb's mouth, and man noticed there were many small, round, milky white beads, each with a black dot at the center, resembling human eyeballs. They immediately clumped together into slimy membranes. "Chief, what is that?" Dien asked, his voice trembling. Man stood staring at the slimy mass, pointing at the round beads stuck together. "That's saliva, just saliva," Man replied. "They're frog eggs. Tadpoles are hatching out of the corpse earlier. They must have hatched from that entire collection of eggs." Content missing. "3:30 p.m. at the Phuong Chau Commune police station. Team leader Man had just returned to the police station about 30 minutes ago, after taking numerous photos at the scene and bringing back several samples collected from the cemetery. At this moment, Captain Man was writing a report on the entire unexpected incident that took place in Phuong Bai village. A knock sounded at the door. Man said, "Come in." Dien stepped inside. Although he had already returned to the police station, his complexion still looked. Dien's face still showed clear signs of confusion, the fear evident after witnessing the bizarre events at the cemetery earlier this afternoon. Dien stammered, "Chief, Mr. Lamb's wife has arrived to claim her husband's body. She wants to take Mr. Lamb's remains home right now, but they're handling the paperwork." Man nodded. "All right, their family bring the body back. By the way, have you ever witnessed such a bizarre death before?" Dien swallowed hard, gently, shook his head and replied, "No, sir. This is the first time I've ever witnessed such a terrifying scene. His death was anything but normal, Chief." "Be normal, boss." "I know. You're a talented and strong person, Chief. You're from the city, so you probably don't believe in things like the supernatural or ghosts. But there are things that happen. I cannot believe it. Especially the case. It's not like Mr. Lamb just died there for no reason. Die right there." Man immediately frowned. "What do you mean?" Dien replied with a thoughtful expression and said, "Earlier, I spoke with Mr. Lamb's wife. She was extremely frightened, constantly saying that her husband was possessed by a demon, and then that Mr. Lamb's death had been foretold beforehand. Back at the cemetery, you saw how terrified the villagers were when they talked about Phuong Bai village being cursed. The beach is cursed. It doesn't know yet, as long as we all..." "Dien, I know you're confused." "Me too. It's true that witnessing what happened today, any one of us would share the same fear. But we can't let that fear at all. Yet we simply let fear overwhelm reason. The ones responsible for protecting the people. The citizens are terrified. If even we are afraid, then how will they? Who can I rely on? I understand what you're trying to say. I'll keep it in mind. I want to discuss this with Mr. Lamb's wife." Man stood up and walked past Dien. Man patted Dien the shoulder, then reassured him. "So what if it's a demon, you might wonder? After all, if it harms people, a demon, I'll hunt it down to the very end. And I can't do this alone. I need you. That's why you have to overcome your own fear, because very soon we might have to face things that are even more terrifying, a lot more terrifying." Dien was literally stunned by Man's words. Dien stammered. Hunt down even demons, chief? Are you serious? Man smirked and replied, That's right. I'm starting to get interested in this whole thing. We've only ever heard of exorcists and fortune tellers catching ghosts. If there really are demons in this world, I want to try catching them at least once. Would you even dare to try this out? Hearing that, Dien suddenly felt his spirits lift. Those words indeed that Man said, along with his firm, determined, decisive, strong, and confident expression, truly left a deep impression on Dien. Having a superior like that, if Dien was still afraid, wouldn't that be incredibly embarrassing? His pride and self-respect surged, and Dien clenched his fists tightly, responding, For the captain! Why would I be afraid, sir? Indeed, I will follow you. Man and Dien smiled at each other, saying, Good, that's indeed the spirit. There was a mountain called Tu Tram Son. On the way back to Vung Chau commune, while asking around, Master Leon learned that on Tu Tram Son there was a complex of ancient temples built during the 7th year of the Khan Tri era, a period 1669. Master Leon thought that on his path of doing good deeds, with the mindset of someone who worked in exhumation, comforting the souls of those who had passed away. Wherever Master Leon went, if there was a temple, especially ancient temples dating back to olden times, Master Leon would surely visit, first to admire the scenery and then to contribute efforts, offering a share of merit to the temple and also to bring peace to his own heart. For only at the temple could Master Leon find true serenity, allowing him to smile gently, easing the burdens deep within his heart, so he could continue walking the path of repaying karmic debts. Tu Tram Mountain is truly a picturesque and charming scenic spot. Tu Tram Mountain is surrounded by smaller mountains, Jong Lu Mountain, Nin Son Mountain, and the majestic Tien Lu Mountain. Path up the mountain became more difficult as the sun had already set, and to make matters worse, it was raining. Thus, the trail, lined with steep, rugged cliffs, became indeed even more treacherous than usual, making the journey all the more perilous. However, it is precisely because of the terrain filled with cliffs and rocky mountains that the scenery of Tu Tram Son has become diverse and majestic and magnificent. Without stopping, Master Leon pressed on, passing by grayish-white rocks scattered all around. The higher he climbed, the more he could appreciate the breathtaking wild beauty of nature, a stark contrast to the bustling town below. Standing atop Tu Tram Mountain, Master Leon suddenly recalled Tuyubo Mountain. Remember the Grey Rock Mountain. Remember the village, bamboo, and one more place. But no. Whenever Master Leon tried to recall this place, his memories were always vague and a little jumbled. Where is Bakhak Mountain? My head hurts so much. Master Leon raised his hand to lightly clutch his head. Every time he tried to recall and piece together the memories from the past 2 years, Master Leon would suffer a splitting headache. The pain grew more intense and persistent with each attempt. He sat down, leaning against a nearby boulder, his head throbbing so badly that he began to lose consciousness, his vision blurring, unable to see clearly anymore, see the scene before him clearly. His arms fell limply to his sides. Master Leon collapsed right beside the boulder, lying motionless. The sky had begun to shift toward dusk. From atop Mount Tu Tram, the wind started to blow. The place was desolate, with no one passing by. Master Leon lay beneath a grayish-white boulder, covered by for a while, until a figure person appeared. After breath test, the person set down their bundle of dry firewood right next to the boulder, then turned around, hoisted Leon onto their back, and continued steadily climbing up Mount Tu Tram Son. Apply a fresh coat of paint to the walls to enhance the room's appearance and protect the surface. 5 p.m., 30 minutes past noon, at Phuong Bai village. Hao had just finished eating. It was still early for the meal. Thinking of Tuan, Hao said, Mom, Bao Hao is carefully preparing the tray. getting ready to carry the dishes down to the kitchen. Hearing that, Mrs. Howe asked, "What is it? Just say it already. Stop stammering." Howe immediately continued, "Let's bring the rice and food over to Tuan, Mom. He's been working all day. He probably hasn't had anything to eat." Mrs. Howe replied right away, "Oh, please. Listening to you, you'd think he's been starving for years. That boy, Tuan, is hard-working, resourceful, and diligent. Honestly, since Mrs. Ngan passed away, it's been 7 years. He's been living all by himself and still manages just fine. And you, look at yourself. Meals served to you after eating, someone else washes the dishes. Tuan lives alone and hasn't died, but you, if you ever leave this house, you'd be done for. There won't be anyone shove food in your mouth." Hearing her mother scold her, Howe felt annoyed. Howe clicked her tongue and said, "So are you going to let me bring some rice over to him or not?" Mrs. Howe just kept grumbling like that, but in truth she was very fond of Tuan, especially yesterday. Tuan helped Howe could recover from her illness. Mrs. Howe continued, "Still sitting there doing nothing. Bring the lunchbox here. Get out. Bring the cage here. I'll hurry up and go. Come back soon. Don't be late. Hanging out like last time. Come home late, I lock the gate. Let you stay out there in the village now. Are spreading around the village. It's all gossip. Weird stuff. Don't mess around. Tell that to Tuan. Not to go out catching frogs anymore. You hear me?" Howe clicked his tongue and softly muttered, "Pfft, even if you gave him gold he wouldn't dare. Just a little rice and he's already trembling like a leaf." "You rude brat, what did you just say? I'll shove this chopstick into your mouth right now." "Just an hour." Mrs. Howe grabbed chopsticks and raised them, ready to strike. But Howe quickly jumped off the bed and ran away. A woman's intuition. The woman made Mrs. Howe very uneasy after that. What happened this afternoon? The whole village was terrified. The pit at Mrs. Van's house was now seen as a death trap. Some said it was a grave cursed by evil spirits, said it was a haunted grave. When he heard Mr. Toy, Mrs. Van's husband, suddenly, after months of being bedridden, and was thought to be on the verge of death, some rumors spread about Mrs. Van's family had hired a sorcerer to perform rituals, using dark magic, to cast a spell on the grave, causing it to claim lives in place of Mr. Toy. More people die, more Mr. Toy gets angry, live longer and healthier. Although only, it didn't seem entirely baseless. A man named John, who was near death, sat up, eating, and it was downright eerie. Suddenly, Mrs. Howe felt a chill run down her spine because this afternoon she and her daughter visited Mr. Toy. Mrs. Howe quietly muttered to herself, "Oh no, I wonder if our family will get dragged into this. What's the deal? Don't go to the cemetery." But hearing talk of today's outing scared me. Howe's father. This time he left without even how. This time I can't even send money. Any more letters home? Like, oh my goodness. While she was deep in thought, Mrs. Howe suddenly jolted upright in fright, dropping her chopsticks on the wooden floor. Why was there a howl from that wretched son? His mother got such a fright. Howe laughed gleefully, his face as red as a jackfruit, his hands trembling like a fighting rooster. Mrs. Howe bent down to pick up one of the chopsticks. Then she smacked it against Howe's body. Howe raised his hand to block it, but it still hurt like crazy. As he ran into the house, Howe just shouted, "Oh my God, just a little scare. Who knows? Mom is scared, let me complain. Run as fast as you can, Huyen!" "Help me, please, I am in urgent need of help." Around 6 p.m., Howe was riding his bicycle, with a lunchbox hanging from it, heading to Tuan's house in the village. It showed the bond between brothers as brothers, friends who had been close since childhood, which made Howe push aside his fear and pedal swiftly down the village road in the dimming light to bring food to Tuan. It made sense after all. Last night at Howe's house, Tuan had shared that he had used up all the money he had saved over several years to soon move. The grave grandmother's tomb gave everything to the workers. Howe knew that was everything Tuan had. Feeling sorry for his friend, Howe decided that he would sneak food and meals from home to Tuan, helping him however he could. Stopping his bike by the earthen wall, Howe grabbed the lunchbox and ran inside. At that moment, inside the house was pitch dark. Howe mumbled to himself, already asleep or hasn't come back from work yet? Usually, he's home by 5, isn't he? Sleeping this early? So early? Tuan! Yes, absolutely. Howe called out as he walked. Even when he reached the door, there was still no response. It was dark, and instinctively, Howe suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. The area at the edge of the village was sparsely populated. Roughly, there were only a few houses, and they were all quite far apart from each other. Thinking about the grave behind the house just made Howe's skin crawl. But what scared Howe even more was the thought that had just flashed through his mind. Howe, is there any chance that Tuan guy dead? No, at that thought Hao started trembling uncontrollably. Standing in front of the rickety cracked wooden door, Hao mustered all his courage and, with all his might, attempted to carefully and gently push the door. The wooden door creaked loudly. The door wasn't latched, given that it was highly likely that Tuan was at home. But if he was home, then why hadn't he answered when Hao called? Answer? Good swallow. If not, Tuan is a close friend, a bosom brother for sure. Hao certainly ran away from home. Darkness engulfed him as Hao stepped one foot into the house. Step into the house. Oh my God, you're home. Are you there? Tuan. 1 foot still outside for safety. Hao called out softly, but gently. No one answered. But just as the door was opened, and he placed 1 foot inside, Hao heard a very faint sound. It was the sound of snoring, accompanied by steady breathing. After each snore, the sound of sleeping came from the direction of the bed, Tuan's. Hearing the snoring, Hao finally breathed a sigh of relief. As his eyes adjusted to the darkness, Hao saw someone lying on the bed sleeping. He had been holding his breath all this time, not daring to breathe heavily. Now Hao finally placed his hand over his chest, exhaled sharply and muttered, "That bastard! He's just sleeping and I thought he was dead." Still grumbling, Hao moved toward the lamp plug and plugged it into the socket. The light in the house flicked on, and now everything inside was clearly visible, more clearly. Looking over at the bed, it was true that Tuan was fast asleep, even snoring peacefully. Setting the lunchbox down at the foot of the bed, Hao stepped closer and called out, "Tuan, hey big guy! Time to eat. Now." This was different from the previous afternoon. Tuan opened his eyes groggily, rubbed them with his hands and saw Hao. Tuan asked in confusion, "Oh, Hao, oh no, I am really late for work." Tuan sprang up and looked out the window. It was pitch dark. Looking around, glancing at the bed, only then did Tuan realize he was at his own home. Hao immediately furrowed her brows and said, "Dreaming again? Talking nonsense? What time do you think it is? Still thinking about going to work? It's already 6 p.m. "Dad, what's going on?" Tuan asked. Am I at home? I thought I fell asleep at your place." Hao was completely stunned hearing that and thought, "Oh no, he's really delirious. Or maybe amnesia." I passed him. "This morning I drove you to the brick factory. It's dark now and you haven't even had a sleep yet. Come on, get up and wash your face to wake up. Then we'll talk. You're just standing there all dazed, looking like a mangy dog, talking all crazy too. Another world. Dad, get up and help me out," Hao said. Tuan just remembered exactly what it was. I just mentioned it was yesterday. It's like Tuan was still dreaming, not knowing he was back. Home since when? Still sleeping upstairs. Bed again. Now remember. Tuan immediately copied mouth. "Maybe too tired, so go home." Fell asleep without knowing. Also, yes, a lot of things happen these days. Too late, but still don't know when to come. Done for me too. Hao immediately said, "Don't jinx it. If you're tired, just rest. No need to work yourself to death, Buffalo. You haven't died from being haunted by a ghost. You'll die from exhaustion. Come on, eat." "I knew you didn't, so I brought you some food. Come on, eat up. The lunchbox is packed with meat, vegetables, and even a bowl of soup." Tuan swallowed hard, because he was quite hungry at that moment. "Thanks a lot. I'll dig in now. Here." After saying that, Tuan started shoveling rice into his mouth. As they ate, the two of them chatted. Hao asked, "By the way, what time did you get off work today?" Tuan frowned slightly and replied, "I don't really remember, but probably the same as usual. Around 5 o'clock or a little later. Home by 5 o'clock. Hao sighed, deep in thought for a few seconds, unsure whether to tell, listen or not. Anyway, everything that had happened past 3 days was exhausting, so Hao stayed silent, quietly. Tuan immediately asked, "What's wrong? Is something going on?" Sighing and smacking his lips, Hao immediately replied, "I intend to, but oh well, sooner or later. You'll find out anyway. By tomorrow it might spread across the whole commune, maybe even reach the district town." Tuan grew curious. What could be so serious? "Just tell me already. Don't keep beating around the bush like that." Hao looked at Tuan with the serious expression. "Finish your meal first." "Go." "No. I'm afraid if I tell you I'll swallow." Not popular. It was very rare for Tuan to see Hao with such a serious face. This time, he even seemed more secretive than when Hao had come here to inform Tuan about the news of the young boy who had died at the cemetery. Feeling uneasy, Tuan drank some soup to ease his throat, then quickly shoveled rice, chewed very hastily. Soon it's gone, completely empty. He finished off the remaining soup in the bowl, wiped his mouth with his hand. Tuan immediately said, "I'm done eating. Whatever it is, tell me now. Go ahead." Hao slowly said, "Today there was another person who died out at the cemetery." "Dead? In the middle of the day?" Tuan was startled. His eyes widened and he stammered, "Who died?" Hao gently shook his head. "I don't know who it is because the person... This is not a person from my village. I was too scared to go to the cemetery to see. I only heard bits and pieces from others saying that the person who died was from the town center up there." "From the town center? How did they end up dead in our village cemetery?" Hao looked at Tuan and swallowed hard. Hao's eyes clearly showed his fear, his lips trembling. Hao then continued, "That's not all. This person also died under Mrs. Van's grave, died in the same spot as that little boy. Did indeed, as we all anticipated." "No, really, no way." Thunder rumbled. While speaking, Hao flinched. Hearing thunder, my limbs turned icy cold, trembling wildly. Tuan wasn't any better, shaking and stammering. How much trembling voice. Tuan said a long time. "Oh my, once again, it is that very same grave we have seen before." Hao immediately continued, "There's one more thing. I don't know why, but I keep thinking this whole thing is somehow connected to Mr. Toy." "What else? Just say it." Hao immediately replied, "You know Mr. Toy, right? Mr. Toy is Mrs. Van's husband, isn't he?" Hao nodded and answered, "Everyone in this village knows that Mr. Toy is gravely ill, with only days left to live. Yet this afternoon when my child went to his house, he had regained consciousness, sat up, and not only that, he could eat and drink normally. In fact, he was eating even heartier than a healthy person." Tuan immediately frowned. "But what does that have to do with me? And how could someone who was on the brink of death suddenly recover and become healthy? Just like that?" Hao softly said, "It is related. Because you and Mrs. Van's family are both connected to the master craftsman." Hearing that, Tuan was surprised. "What are you talking about? I don't understand anything. What does Mr. Toy's recovery have to do with me going to the cemetery to catch frogs and then getting haunted by a ghost? To each other?" Hao immediately replied, "I told you it's related to the shaman's place, but you forgot already." "Who was it?" "Shaman told Mrs. Van to dig a grave so when Mr. Toy dies, somewhere to bury him, to prevent." After that, no one in the house was arrested. It was the shaman. Who else? He even came over to the house to see Mrs. Van, so that's why you went to find the shaman's house to have your fortune told and seek help. What else could it be?" Tuan still looked confused. "But what does that mean? The more you say, the less I understand." Hao clicked his tongue. "How could you not get it? That kid was indeed the first one who died right under that grave. And today, another person died also at same grave at Mrs. Van's house. A coincidence? No way. There's no such thing as coincidence, Strange. Let me tell you something in secret. The villagers have been whispering to each other that Mrs. Van hired shaman cast Spellgrave to capture souls. Every time someone dies, Mr. Toy would recover from his illness and regain his health. And they say the more people die there, the longer Mr. Toy will live. That's why someone as gravely ill and near death as Mr. Toy was suddenly able to get up and eat rice. Late-stage cancer, barely clinging to life for a whole month. Now, suddenly, without any medication, he woke up, ate, and cursed. No one had ever seen before." Still the same question. Tuan felt a chill, but then how does that have to do with anything? "To do with me?" Hao sighed deeply. "Very disappointing. Even after explaining all that, Tuan still doesn't understand." Hao clicked his tongue. "How can you be so slow? What I mean is, if the rumors are true, and that master has some kind of magic that can make someone gravely ill and on the verge of death recover, then matter of exorcising demon you asked, he will succeed anyway. You don't need to worry about it anymore. Isn't that master already took the money and promised to help you, right?" At this point, Tuan just understood the meaning Hao was trying to say. Tuan shook his head, lowered his face, and replied, "If saving one person means having to kill someone else, that's just too cruel. I don't want that. I'd rather die." Hao immediately responded, "Come on. It's all just rumors. Anyway, no one actually has any proof. I heard that, but for example, the kid. He did Mr. Ka and stayed away from the cemetery. How could he have died? And that man today, he must have gone out there for some reason, and that's why he died. Take you, for instance, if you don't go in the cemetery." "But what?" Outside, the sound of thunder continued. They hurriedly closed the lid of the lunchbox, along with the bowl of soup put in a plastic bag. They said, "Maybe I'll head back by 6:30. The sky looks like it's about to rain. Better get going quickly." And I didn't bring a raincoat. In a little while, Mrs. Boo, please lock the gate. Tuan walked with Hao to the edge of the wall. It was pitch dark. Tuan village still didn't have streetlights, so whenever people went out at night, they always had to carry a flashlight. Tuan then asked, are you okay going back alone? Or should I walk you home? Hao immediately laughed and replied, then after that, I'll have to walk you back? What a hassle. It's only 6 o'clock. Only the last stretch of the village road is dark, but along that path, the houses on both sides still have their lights on. It's no big deal. Just focus on taking a shower after you're full. Look at you. Your clothes are filthy. Your head and feet are all dirty. Earlier, it was all mud. Nothing but mud. You still got into bed and slept. I'm impressed. Anyway, tomorrow afternoon, I'll bring you another meal. Just a little. Looking down at the clothes he was wearing, Tuan realized they really were dirty. Tuan replied, maybe it's because of rain and working outside that I got dirty. Besides, all roads in our village are dirt. As soon as it rains, they turn into muddy puddles. And I was walking, so how could I avoid it? Go take a shower. I'm heading home. Hao hung the lunchbox onto handlebar of her bicycle, then got on and rode off, leaving Tuan's house. Tuan slowly went back into the house. His clothes reeked of mud, an awful smell. He muttered to himself, it's because I had to work in the rain today. Tuan frowned, then clicked his tongue lightly. Hao was right. How could I even sleep with my body and limbs this filthy? Dirty like this, but still can sleep. But also, strange, isn't it? Every time he comes here, all death notices mentioned. Speaking of the master craftsman, by the plan, tomorrow morning at 3 a.m., the master will come to our village, and I have to meet him at the village entrance, then take him to the cemetery. But today there's another person who died there. Will it be okay? Well, let's just pick up the master craftsman first, then figure it out. We've already made the appointment. Time to take a bath first. Strange. My mind today feels like it's half remembering, half forgetting. What's going on? Muttering to himself, Tuan grabbed clothes and went to the side of the house where there was a basin filled with water for bathing. It was already quite cold as night had fallen. Splashing a few scoops of water, Tuan scrubbed his arms, legs, and body. When he got to his big toe, Tuan suddenly grimaced. After washing off the layer of mud, Tuan noticed the sharp pain in his toe. He bent down to look and clicked his tongue. That's strange. When did I get hurt like this? Damn it, it stings. And only now does it start to hurt. Then he splashed a bucket of water over himself to rinse off. Quickly, he threw on a new set of clothes. He put on his shorts. Tuan heard someone calling his name, calling from outside by the wall. Tuan! Hey, Tuan! Are you home right now? There, hearing the somewhat familiar voice, Tuan ran out, and it was Ka, the village chief, still putting on his shirt. Tuan quickly replied, Oh, Mr. Ka, please, come inside. What brings you looking for me at this hour? What's the matter? Mr. Ka stayed outside, knocking, waving for Tuan to come closer. Come here, let me tell you right away. I knew it would be hard to find you, but the village's affairs are everyone's concern. Everyone shares the same responsibility. Same responsibility, so you have to inform you. Tuan immediately asked, What is it? Please, go ahead and tell me. It's a matter of the village. I don't mind at all. Mr. Ka straightforwardly said, You probably already know that this afternoon there was another death out at the cemetery. Dead then, this person is not our village, and they didn't die, but ended up dying right at Mrs. Van's burial plot, the exact spot where Newt died the other day. So the commune police came down to investigate, and the village elders also held a meeting. In the end, they decided that starting tonight, a patrol team would be formed to guard the entrance of the village to prevent anyone from wandering over to the other side of the cemetery, whether they are villagers, us, or another village. From afternoon until now, Uncle going around informing the households, but everyone is too scared to take a shift. Only a few young guys like Lan Tin and Chuan agreed. Just now, I ran into Hao on the road, but when I asked him, he flat out refused because he was too scared. Right now, Lan and Chuan are on duty at the entrance of the village, but we can't let them stay on duty until morning. So, could you possibly take a shift for me, please? Tuan didn't hesitate and answered immediately, Yes, I can. What time am I on duty, Uncle? Mr. Carr replied, Lan will be on duty until 12 hour at night, then Tin will take over until 3 in the morning, so you will be on duty from 3 to 5 ons. Around that time, I'll come to relieve you so you can go to work. Tuan started thinking. The marksman arranged to meet me at 3 a.m. At that time it would be my shift with Bin, so if I leave early, a little early to pick up the marksman would make sense. So Tuan remained silent and Carr pressed him. Is that not okay, kid? Tuan smiled brightly. Yes, it's fine. So, I just need to head to entrance of village before my shift to relieve Tin, right, uncle? Yeah, that's right. So you agree then? Remember to switch shifts at 3 a.m. I'm heading back now. After bidding Mr. Carr goodbye, Tuan turned back into the house, his heart in turmoil and confusion. Tuan recalled strict rule, no one is allowed to open cemetery gates, and a guard post was even set up. Yet now, Tuan was taking advantage of the case to go against the elder's decree. But at this point, all the money had already been handed over to the shaman, not to mention, per the shaman's words, Tuan only had until the end of tomorrow to live. At this point, Tuan muttered to himself, whatever, I'll deal with it when it comes. Life and death are fated, better get some sleep. At 3 a.m. I still have to get up for my shift, then head to work. Thinking about it, it's actually kind of funny. If the shaman can't save me, then I'll die. And if I'm dead, why would I even bother going to work? Tuan closed the door, got into bed, pulled up the blanket, and went straight to sleep, not forgetting to set the alarm for 2 a.m. He had just woken up not long ago, yet now lying there, it hadn't even been long before Tuan started snoring loudly again. Just 2 days ago, Tuan had been anxious and fearful, not understanding why, but by today, Tuan no longer felt that way anymore. Although he couldn't clearly sense it yet, something inside Tuan seemed to be changing. As for Hao, he hurriedly pedaled his bike away from Tuan's house, home. On the way, Hao ran into Mr. Carr. After Mr. Carr suggested Hao take the night watch duty at the entrance of the village, Hao immediately refused, claiming he was sick, and quickly pedaled away. It seemed that Hao had miscalculated. The villagers had just finished handling series of strange deaths out by the cemetery, leaving everyone terrified. Because of that, night fell, no one dared to go outside. Even the lights inside the houses were turned off, and people went to bed early. As a result, the entire village road was pitch black. Hao had to shine his flashlight, hunching over and pedaling fast as he could. At times, the flashlight illuminated scenes of dry firewood, and Hao would be startled. He was terrified that while riding, something that jumps out, or suddenly, Hao began to pant heavily, and his breath quickened, which was understandable. He had been pedaling with all his strength, sweating profusely, and had already covered quite a distance. Half the distance. Thing was, Hao couldn't understand why. The bike kept getting heavier and heavier, as if he were carrying someone or something extra right on the back. Suddenly, Hao shivered, his whole body turning ice cold. A chill spread as he thought about something or someone sitting behind him. His arms and legs shaking, Hao hadn't dared to turn his head and look behind him, when suddenly, a voice accompanied by a soft giggling laugh echoed softly out, "Please. Heavy, isn't it? When I first tried to lift it, I was taken aback by its unexpected weight. It's surprisingly dense, requiring." Wild laughter and a strange-sounding voice were followed by 2 hands reaching around to wrap tightly around Hao's waist. The fingers of the hand were deathly pale, the skin ghostly and soaked with water, slowly intertwining and tightening their grip around Hao's waist, making him so terrified that he felt like his heart had stopped. Both Hao and his bike collapsed onto the road. Hao was so scared that he couldn't even run or scream anymore. He just clutched his head and pressed his face against ground. The roadside grass withered and kept trembling. His mouth stammered before he could finally utter the sentence, "Someone help me." He didn't dare to look, but Hao could feel the droplets of water falling heavily onto his body in the stillness of the night. That voice spoke once again, echoing through the air. "Hao, you're scaring me. Please look at me right now. I'm right here."
Joyous, joyful, hearty laughter.
But Hao's limbs were frozen stiff like a statue, as if bewitched by that eerie voice. Hao slowly turned his head upward, eyes wide open, mouth agape. He immediately cried out, shouting, "This can't be happening!" Hao choked out the words, but immediately after, he panicked when he saw the figure standing before him, slowly disintegrating, flesh melting away like soft mud. The face distorted, the skin on the face sagged and drooped, and both eyes fell out of their sockets onto the ground, onto the pavement. In that moment, the body of that person became a skeleton, another skeleton. Bony arms. She reached out to Hao. "I'm here. I'm going home." That bony arm reached out toward Hao. "It's me. I've come back to you." At that moment, after a loud sob, Hao's eyes bulged. His whole body turned pale. Hao collapsed onto the pavement and lay completely motionless. The sky continued to rumble with dry thunder, but the rain had yet to fall. On the dirt road of Phuong Bai village, A bicycle lay toppled over next to a young man lying by the grassy roadside, wrapped in thick darkness. Somehow, frogs from somewhere began croaking loudly, in a strangely raucous chorus that echoed throughout the village. The fields were filled by the sound of croaking frogs, the peak of mating season. Even though by this time is the end of the month, he arrived. At Mrs. Howe's house at 7:30 p.m. Ma'am. Hey, Will Howe. Will Howe please wake up? Mrs. Howe, tearful, grabbed Mr. Carr's hand and asked this question. It was already the third time. Mr. Carr immediately replied, how would I know? We have to wait for the medic. Why is that guy Chuan taking so long? Chuan came pedaling furiously into the yard, but Chuan came back alone. Mr. Carr and Mrs. Howe hurriedly ran over and asked, what happened? Mr. Carr asked. Chuan shook his head and replied, the medic refused to come, uncle. Kept shouting hoarsely that Howe just caught a chill and fainted by the roadside. He said he was sick himself and couldn't go. He said he was going to the commune to get medicine, but looking at him, he didn't look sick at all, fat as Kwan. Tin, he's scared, too afraid to leave the house at night. Seeing this, Mrs. Howe was distraught. Then what will happen to my child? What should I do now? Mr. Carr was also at a loss. In the whole village, there was only one medical practitioner who had once worked at the district hospital for a time, but afterwards, for unknown, he returned to the commune, working at the commune clinic. Rumor had it that he was smuggling medicines out to sell, and when he was found out, hospital sent him back to the commune. He was a medical practitioner at the commune, but when villagers fell ill needed to buy medicine or requested an injection, called for him, would come right to their house, though the cost was higher compared to going to the commune clinic or the district hospital. That's why in emergencies or late at night, would the villagers indeed dare to call him? The thing was, he was greedy for money, so even if it was the middle of the night, pre-dawn, he would still hurriedly pack up and go to give injections on the go. He called it the compassion of a true healer. However, when it came time to settle the bill, he never forgot to tack on after-hours surcharge work. The commune infirmary is far away from the village. Many times when they were sick, sneezing, or had a runny nose, the villagers were reluctant to make the trip, so they chose to buy medicine or get injections from him instead. In the village, there was a family well off. Then the Mo family was the wealthiest and just as money-hungry as Mo himself. Money like a grave, but it's past 7 p.m. reported. Sick and unable to leave the house is enough to know that it is a grave. After all the strange incidents in Phuong Bai village, Chuan now gently said to Mrs. Howe, all right then, here's what we'll do now. Uncle Ka and Aunt Howe, you carry Howe to the bicycle. Let him sit on the back seat, then use a thin blanket to tie him securely to me. I'll take him up to the commune. Leaving him lying at home like that isn't good. What is it, Uncle Ka? Wait for Aunt Howe to follow behind, okay? Howe quickly nodded. Yes, you help me with this. Just as everyone was about to turn back to the bed, Huyen called out, Mom, I think Brother Howe, he's waking up. Aunt Howe rushed over to find Howe crying out, my arm. Aunt Howe called out, Howe, wake up, son, Howe. In the midst of his half-conscious coma, his eyes tightly shut, Howe could still hear someone calling his name loudly, persistently, and insistently. Howe! It was that eerie voice accompanied by a strange, sinister laugh. Howe flailed his arms and legs, struggling desperately. Howe shouted loudly, No! Stay away! Ghost! Help me! Still with his eyes closed, Howe's face was filled with panic. Mrs. Howe, flustered, rushed in to hold her son, but Howe flailed his arms and accidentally struck her, causing her to fall to the ground. Doctor! My son! What's happening to Howe, please, doctor? Approached the bed. Being a strong young man, Tran quickly pinned down Howe's arms, then called out to Mr. Carr, Slap his face! Wake him up, doctor! Wake up, uncle! Mr. Carr swallowed and jerked. Sleeve clapped his hands hard on Howe's face. Mr. Carr was about to slap him again, when Huyen suddenly appeared, carrying a huge cup of water, and poured it all over her brother's face. The water flowed into his nose-mouth, making Howe cough-choke violently. Howe opened his eyes, screaming in terror, full of fear and trembling, and sprang up, curling himself into a ball against the wall. His eyes were vacant, his face dirty, his arms wrapped around his knees, trembling uncontrollably. Howe reached out to grab Howe, but Mr. Carr stopped her, saying, Hold on! Howe is still panicking. He's terrified. Let him calm down first. Mr. Carr gently called out, Howe, it's Uncle. Carr, do you recognize me? Mrs. Howe also called out, How? It's Mom! Son, it's Mom! Look at me! Just as Mr. Carr had said. After a few minutes of calming down, Hao started to look around at his mother and at Mr. Carr and even at Chuan. Hao then moved his lips. Am I at home? Are you at home? Mrs. Hao said at that time. Dared to breathe heavily. Mrs. Hao immediately replied, My child, I'll here with you. Everything is fine. At this moment, Mr. Carr asked, Then why were you standing like that? Ended up passed out by the side of the road. Luckily, there was a man passing by who saw you. Otherwise, if you had stayed, you could have died. Hearing the word died, Hao suddenly shuddered. Hao shivered. Hao still remembers the chill. Print what happened on the way home. Hao. He hesitated again. He only replied, I don't remember either. Chuan sighed, clicked his tongue. You must have been hit by some evil wind while walking. When we brought you home, your eyes were rolled back. Your body was pale, flesh ice cold. We honestly really thought you were dead. We were about to call somebody to keep vigil over you, but then what's point of keeping vigil anymore? Just let him rest. Uncle Hao, make him a cup of warm water. Drink a slice of ginger to regain your health. Wake up. That's it. I'm heading to the edge of the village with Lan here. This is Lan. I wonder if Tin has it. Remember to set the clock and change shifts. With crazy things, spirits, shattered spirits, the young men of this village will be exhausted. We'll wait until tomorrow to send them off. After saying that, the two uncles left, and Chuan walked toward the edge of the village. Mr. Carr also said, Since the boy's awake, I'll head home too. Take care of your health and well-being. How, okay? Uncle, you seem pretty weak these days. Mrs. Hao thanked him. Thank you, Mr. Carr. Mr. Carr walked to the door when Hao called out after him, Uncle Carr. Mr. Carr turned back. What is it? Hao hesitated, stammering. No, sir. I just wanted to thank you. And uncle, please. Be careful your way home, it's late, and you might run into... Mr. Carr laughed and said, You scaredy cat. I thought it was something serious. Are you worried I'll run into a ghost? Don't worry. After everything that's happened recently, I must be extra careful going out. Very cautious. I always carry garlic and a small bottle with me. As he spoke, Mr. Carr reached into his pocket and pulled out the bottle that looked like a perfume bottle, about the size of a thumb, but the liquid inside was yellow. Mr. Carr continued, This is garlic and this is holy water. Mrs. Hong told me to carry them. Follow that, Miss Hao. I don't know where to listen. She kept saying that if anything seemed wrong, you had to pour urine over yourself. Mrs. Hao added, She's right, you know. I've also heard that urine can ward off evil spirits. Our village has been full of strange happenings lately. As you're the village chief, you have to be careful at night. It's almost 8 hours now, you should head home. Mr. Carr headed home. Mrs. Hao told Huyan to go into the bedroom and pull down the mosquito net to sleep. Seeing the look on her son's face, Mrs. Hao knew he was hiding something. After sending Huyan inside, Mrs. Hao asked, How, there's something you and your daughter need to tell me. Just now, you kept screaming about a ghost. What exactly happened? Why did you faint out there on the street? Looking at his mother, Hao trembled, his hands clasped tightly, fingers interlocked. Hao said, Mom, do you remember the needle? Mrs. Hao furrowed her brows, thinking for a few seconds, then nodded. I remember the needle from old Hoy. He was from our village. How could I forget? Back then, you and he were... But he's been dead for 2 years, hasn't he? Why are you bringing him up now? Hao scooted closer to Mrs. Hao. Mrs. Hao could feel her son trembling. Hao whispered, Just now, I just saw Tram. Mom. Save me, Mom. Hearing Hao say that, Mrs. Hao's hair stood on end. But the first thing she did was to calm her son down, because just by looking into the light in Hao's eyes, Mrs. Hao knew her son was not lying. His eyes showed fear, but also a hint of compassion and connection. Because before Tram passed away, Hao and Tram were in a relationship for 2 years, and they had planned to get married. If Tram hadn't died, by now Mrs. Hao would already have a grandchild to hold. But the girl named Tram had forever left this world at the age of 21, after being abused so severely by her own father. Jump into the well. Waiting a moment for Hao to stop trembling, Mrs. Hao then asked, Where did you see her? But why is she looking for you? In this situation, you didn't do anything wrong, did you? If you want to find it, you should find Lao Hoi, right? Hao immediately replied, On the way back from Thuan's house, while I was riding my bike, I felt the bike becoming very heavy, so I pedaled with all my strength. Suddenly, my whole body turned cold, and I had the feeling that someone was sitting on the back seat of the bike. Before I could even turn around, from behind my back, I heard a soft laugh, eerie and ghostly, and the voice sounded very familiar. The whole bike and I both fell onto the road. That voice kept calling my name, telling me to look. When I looked up, it really was Trum. She was wearing the white shirt and fabric pants, made of linen, barefoot. Her whole body was soaked with water. It kept dripping down onto my back. A few seconds later, I felt her body, Trum's body, disintegrate like mushy mud. Only white bones were left, reaching out an arm toward me. Terrified, I sobbed and then fainted. I didn't know anything else until I woke up and found myself lying on a bed. Mrs. Howe's face turned pale. In just these few days, 3 people in the village have died. One person who had died even came back to life, completely healthy. Every night, the sound of a barn owl echoes through the air. The other night when barn owl cried, we thought it was Mr. coming, getting ready to be placed on the altar, but it turned out the deceased was someone from somewhere else, not someone from our village. Thinking it over, the elders' sayings and metaphors always prove true. The barn owl's cry is a sign that someone is about to die. At this point, Mrs. Howe said, "It's late now. You should go to sleep, dear. We'll talk more in the morning. Maybe I should ask that boy Thuan to take us to meet the master who gave him the charm last night to help you recover. We'll ask for his help to perform a ritual, a charm to ward off evil spirits." Mr. Ka was right earlier. These past few days I keep seeing you looking so weak. Your complexion not good at all. The land in this village must have likely been disturbed. Howe immediately said softly, No need for Thuan to take us anywhere, Mom. I already know that master's name and where he lives. His house is over in Phuong village. Phuong, you are the one who leads. Thuan went over there to have his fortune told. Mrs. Howe listened and recalled something. Mrs. Howe asked, "Oh, right. You told me you were getting to know a girl named Juke from another village. Is it the girl whose family lives in Phuong village?" Howe immediately nodded. "Yes, ma'am. But I've only met her once." Mrs. Howe frowned, speculating. "Could it be that you like that girl, so her spirit came to find you? Say what you will. Someone who died less than 3 years ago, especially by suicide, has a very powerful spirit. Anyway, you know that fortune teller already. All right, tomorrow morning you take me early. We need to offer and prepare talismans, my child. Matters involving spirits are not something to joke about. These past 2 days I've been so anxious. Your father is working far from home. It's just the 3 of us. As for me, whatever. You 2 brothers must be careful. Now go to sleep, dear. Take a knife and place it under your pillow. 2 years have passed, and it seemed like things had settled down. But, brother, the more I think about it, the more I hate that old Hoy, that beast in human form. Even when his daughter died, he went into hiding. Why haven't the police kept a very careful and very close eye on him? Carefully." Letting out a sigh, Mrs. Howe went to close door. Howe grabbed a small knife from the table, placed it under his pillow, went to bed. He pulled blanket tightly, recalling moment. He saw Trum's ghost. Now Ho no longer felt fear, felt deep sorrow for Trum. Mrs. Howe wasn't wrong. 2 years had passed, and just a few days ago, when he looked at Howe's photo, that feeling came rushing back. Love a girl. Sadness. Pain from back then had gradually faded, but tonight Trum appeared in a form that was truly terrifying, yet also deeply heartbreaking. The clothes she wore were the very same outfit Trum had on when the villagers found her body pulled from the well in front of the garden. Was pulled up that day. The neighbors heard noises coming from Mr. Hoy's house. Inside, there were sounds of shouting and beating. When the neighbors rushed, saw Trum screaming in terror. She was screaming while running outside, her clothes disheveled. No one could stop her in time. Trum already jumped into the well to commit suicide. As for old Hoy, he was shirtless, and his pants weren't even fully pulled up as he walked out of the house. He was still holding a bottle of liquor, chugging it down. He even loudly called out the name of his deceased wife, cursing and shouting without realizing that his daughter had jumped into the well. Only, it wasn't until neighbors running to the well, others splashing water onto his face, that he finally groggily sobered up. When Bossy, old Hoy, ran to the well and looked down, Trum was already dead. He claimed that he was drunk, mistook daughter as wife. He beat her. The young girl, just 21 years old, was too overwhelmed by pain, unable to think, and died an unjust, heartbreaking death. When How arrived and saw villagers pulling his beloved up from the well, he stood there in shock, frozen in place. Howe rushed to embrace Tram's corpse, sobbing. Mrs. Howe said, Howe was not at fault, and that certainly wasn't right, because that day Howe and Trum had planned to go out together. But since Mrs. Howe's bicycle broke down and needed repairs, Howe could only arrange to meet about an hour later. It was truly heartbreaking. In that 1 hour window, Old Man Hoy, drunk and completely unaware, ended causing Trum's death without realizing. Tram died. The colored shirt scraping, together money from catching frogs with Tuan, money from catching frogs with Tuan, to buy it as a gift for Trum. That day, Howe also wore a white shirt, white eyelashes. Tram too, both will plan to have sweet soup and ice cream together. They would really stand out wearing matching shirts like that. But the white of those shirts that day turned into a dark, gloomy color, utterly, absolutely bleak. Let's maybe get married when we're 22, okay? That was what Trum said to Howe as she received the white shirt from her lover. My mom also said 22 is the perfect age to, settle down. But that promise could indeed never come true. When Tram ended her life at that, due to abuse from her own biological father, she left behind far too many things. The radiance of her beautiful youth, along with the boundless grief of Howe and the villagers of Phuong Bai. As for Old Hoy, after his daughter died, he fled and disappeared without a trace. Even to this day, no one knows where he is, whether he's still alive or already dead. Back then, Howe once had the intention of killing Old Hoy to avenge Trum. Lying with his arm over his forehead, lost in thought, Howe's tears fell, realizing. Knowing it, Howe wiped his tears, washed his mouth, and softly, Trum, where have you gone? I'm sorry. At Trem-Tu Pagoda, Trem Mountain, the calls of forest birds echoed faintly in the darkness, signaling that night was gradually falling. The oil lamp held in the hand of the great elder monk, Quang Tam, illuminated the door of the small room. Master, the young monk stood up, pressed his palms together, and bowed respectfully. The renowned great elder monk, Quang Tam, gently made a gesture for silence, then asked, Little Hun Han, how is the condition of this layman? Hun Han immediately replied, Master, after I gave him the medicine you prepared, his complexion looked much better, and his pulse had also stabilized. He just needs to rest for about another hour and he should recover. The great elder monk Quang Tam gently nodded. Then the monk sat down on the chair next to the bed, rolled up his sleeve, and took the layman's pulse. Luong, you were right. Well done. It seems that your pulse-taking skills have improved a lot. Before a lot. Because this donor is old and climbed up from Tram Mountain all by himself? Tram-san, I don't know what happened. Right. Was very fortunate that you happened to be out gathering firewood, then passed by in time to find him. Hun Han immediately replied, Oh yes, dear master, please forgive me. I couldn't bring firewood home today. Tomorrow morning, I will go down the mountain to carry some up. The venerable elder monk Quang Tam smiled kindly and said, Saving a life is a great matter, while carrying firewood is but a small one. Just do whatever, you mustn't worry. As for mistakes, I am very happy to see the truth in your heart. With each passing day, it shines even brighter. You have changed so much since the first time we met. It's already been approximately 2 years as of now. Yes, it's all thanks to your guidance and your boundless compassion, Master, Hunan said, joining his palms together, bowing his head in response. The great elder monk Quang Tam looked at the expression and features on Master Luong's face as he gently adjusted a silver strand of hair that had fallen near the corner of Master Luong's eye. The great elder monk then said, This person has a kind appearance and great blessings, big air, overwhelming, has helped a lot, people. When you brought him back to the temple, even though he had fainted, both of his palms were still very warm. Looking at his hands, I can guess this person might also be a healer. Around Benefactor's body is a divine light of protection. This donor also has heavenly protection. There is just one thing that I need to mention. What a pity. Hun Han immediately asked. Master, why did you sigh? The great elder, Venerable Quang Tam, paused for a few seconds. The Venerable's eyes showed a hint of sadness. He gently pulled the blanket up to cover Master Luong. The great elder Venerable then replied, It's nothing. Well, it's also the will of heaven. I just feel a little sorry for him. If only I could. The great elder Venerable Quang Tam was speaking when Master Luong gently moved his arm. His eyes slowly opened. Master Luong asked, Where am I? You have regained consciousness, the great elder Venerable Quang Tam said, looking at him. Gently said to Master Luong, Venerable Master. Master Luong tried to sit up, but the great Venerable Quang Tam gently placed his hand on Master Luong's chest. Then he smiled. Don't be in a hurry. Please lie still and rest. There's no need to be formal. Let me check again. Your pulse first. After checking the pulse, the great Venerable said to Hu Nan, Hu Nan, go reheat the pot of porridge and bring a bowl here for this layperson to eat. And remember to bring some drinking water as well. Hu Nan respectfully acknowledged, bowed his head in reverence, and then left the room. After checking Master Luong's pulse, the great Venerable gently asked, Layperson, how are you feeling? How are you? Teacher Luong immediately replied, Thank you. Thank you, Master. You saved me. I am better now. Enough. Hey, my heart knows I must repay. What should I do? The great elder monk smiled kindly. The master has saved many people. Cham Temple is truly honored to have you visit. Big Tram Pagoda is very honored to be the owner. With just a few words, the great Venerable Quang Tam managed to deeply move Master Luong, felt immense admiration and respect. Sitting up, Mr. Luong clasped and bowed before the monk. The great monk showed his respect. Venerable Master. Master, you are so wise. I see this is a temple. Agawud, please let me know your preciousness, greatness, your name? The great monk stroked his hand, his silver beard, his eyes bright like stars in the night sky, and smiled. The great Venerable then said, I am the abbot of Cham Temple, an ancient temple on Tu Tram Mountain. My Dharma name is Quang Tam. This year I am already 99 years old. There's no need for such formality, layman. Meeting each other is a matter of fate. I have a question. Why did you climb the mountain alone and up encountering trouble? When I examined you, I didn't find any signs of illness. Could it be that you simply collapsed from exhaustion while walking? The master, Luong, immediately replied, Venerable Master, on the way, passing through Pung Chau commune, I, a physician, happened to overhear the locals mentioning a centuries-old temple over 300 years old located on Mount Tram Son. I sincerely wished to visit for sightseeing and to perform good deeds. Unfortunately, on the way up mountain, I was struck by a severe headache, so painful that I fainted away. Fortunately, the monks at temple saved me. Just then, Hunan came in, carefully carrying a steaming bowl of porridge with both hands, and gently placed it down on a small table made from a tree stump inside the room. Hunan exclaimed, Wow, it's really hot, Master. I've brought the porridge, but please, it's still hot, so we should let it cool down for a bit. Looking at Master Luong, Hunan smiled and bowed his head in greeting. Master Luong also bowed in return. He then said, Thank you, young monk, for saving my life. My name is Luong, and I work as a grave digger. May I ask what your Dharma name is, young monk? What is this, monk? Hunan was embarrassed, then scratched his head and replied, You flatter me, sir. Saving your life? What are you talking about? I was just out gathering firewood along the road, witnessed the situation. How could I not help? It was just a small matter. Anyone would have done the same. Please, sir, don't worry about it. My name is Feng. My master gave me the Dharma name Hunan. I turned 20 this year. I've been at Tram Temple for 2 years now. The venerable elder monk Quang Tam looked at Hunan, who was fanning the bowl of porridge to cool it down a little, and smiled gently. The abbot of Tram Temple said, Hunan came to the temple at 18 years old. It was a fateful connection with Tram Temple. He accepted path of returning to the temple for self-improvement. And just like that, it's already been 2 years, hasn't it? Hunan, my child, you're already seated. Bring it to Master Luong. Let the patron have some. Hunan replied. Yes, master. Then carried the bowl of porridge over to Master Luong. Master Luong received the bowl of porridge with both hands. The aroma from the bowl wafted through the air, the steam gently rising. Just by smelling it, Master Luong said, there's astragalus root, and even she take mushrooms. This isn't just porridge. It's also a wonderful medicinal recipe. It smells so good. Thank you, Master Bak. Thank you, None? The venerable elder monk Quang Tam smiled and said, as expected, I wasn't wrong, because this benefactor has deep knowledge of herbs and medicinal plants. Smell the aroma without even tasting it. He knows what ingredients are in the porridge, even though I see them as very tiny. I was somewhat skeptical part when the donor says self. Based on what I have sensed, it seems, Master Luong, this benefactor must be a renowned physician, a great talent. Master Luong paused for a few seconds. The venerable elder monk Quang Tam also understood Master Luong's difficulty in expressing himself, so the elder monk stood up and gently continued. Master Luong, after finishes the porridge, be assured and rest. Hunan, tonight come sleep in my room. I will be in the back hall, chanting. Yes, master. Patience. Bowed his head and replied. The elder monk Quang Tam took the oil lamp and left the room. So small. Master Leon sat thinking. Patient immediately asked, Master, would you like to eat some porridge? It's cooled down a bit already, or is it not to your liking? Master Leon smiled and replied, Thank you, Hunan. You saved me, cooked porridge for me, and now I'm even taking over your bed. Any more? Hunan smiled and replied, What's the matter? Really, I'm still young. I can sleep anywhere. When I carried you up to the temple, it was Master who tended to your illness, made medicine for you. The porridge was also cooked by Master. Earlier, I heard Master say that you possess heavenly light, and something about feeling sorry for you. I was listening when you woke up, so Master didn't continue speaking. Now please eat to regain your strength. After you finish, leave the bowl. I'll come back to clean up. I need to finish up a few more. That's it? After saying that, Hunan left first. When leaving, he poured some for Master Leon, just looking around the small room. It was small, but everything very neat and clean. Waiting for the agawood fruit. It's an ancient temple dating back. He took a deep breath, slowly. The air was fresh and spacious. Master Leon could feel the ancient and serene atmosphere of this place. First up was the porridge. Closing his eyes, he savored the flavor. Master Leon gently nodded, murmuring to himself, As expected, this great elder monk truly understands all thoughts and feelings of mine. A venerable monk has an admiration, truly admirable. This time, I, Master Leon, have been blessed with a fateful encounter. Master Leon finished bowl of porridge and drank the water. A while later, Hunan returned. Seeing the empty bowl, Hunan was overjoyed. His young monk face beaming with a constant smile, said, There's still more porridge? Let me get some more. For you, Master Leon immediately replied. Thank you, Hunan. I've had enough. May I ask where the back hall? Where is the temple road? Hunan pointed outside the room and answered, It's in that direction. Once you leave this room, turn right and you'll reach the main hall. From the main hall, continue heading back and you'll get to the back hall. But tonight, the master is chanting sutras in the back hall, so you shouldn't disturb him. You've just regained consciousness, so it's best to rest. Whatever it is, you can talk about it tomorrow morning. Master Leon smiled and nodded. I understand. Already. Thank you very much. Hunan took the bowl outside, closing the door before leaving. After bidding Master Leon good night, Hunan went to rest. Master Leon sensed something inside. His hand, resting next to the pillow at the head of the bed, was glowing softly, emitting a light. When he opened, it was glowing a golden light. It was a bean. Holding the bean in the palm of his hand, Master Leon said, A fertile land makes the bean shine with golden light. Shine golden. I understand. Dien shadow. Thank you, dear audience, for your attention. We bid you farewell and look forward to seeing you again in the next episode of the story.